Welcome to the Thrive podcast with the Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church.
How does your faith kind of play into it, or does it play into it?
What can be done about it? When I say the church, I'm talking about evangelical white Christians and the black folk who attend their churches.
Hello, welcome to the Thrive podcast with the Shiloh Missionary Baptist Church. I'm Fred Jeff Smith, pastor of Shiloh, and I'm very happy that you chose to either view this on Facebook or YouTube or Vimeo, or listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, or Amazon Prime. As always, we welcome your input, your comments. You can reach me at fredjeffsmith@gmail.com, fredjeffsmith@gmail.com, and let me know how we're doing and what we can do to make the podcast better. I'm very happy today to welcome to the Thrive podcast Miss Qunita Wilson, who's also known and probably better known as Lucy Liu. Miss Wilson is a podcaster in her own right, has been doing so for several years. Thank you for taking the time to come and share with us today.
You're welcome.
Tell me how you came up with the name Lucy Liu. Is there a story behind that?
Yeah.
Okay.
My grandmother is actually Big Lucy. So my nickname is Lucy.
Okay.
But I came up with Lucy Liu, and that was like, well, I didn't come up with it. But the person that I'm dating now, well, he came up with it because he was like, you have to give your podcast a name. So I was just saying, like, hey, y'all just watch my podcast. Mm-hmm. So he said, why don't you say Talking with Lucy Liu? So now I carry that name on, Lucy Liu.
Okay. And I imagine that it has taken on its own life, and people on the street see you and they say, there's Lucy Liu.
Yeah, they don't call me Lucy no more.
Well, that's good. That's good. I understand that you got your start in social media dealing with the issues of sickle cell.
Yes.
You want to tell that story, please?
Well, I have a son that has been battling sickle cell since he was 3 months. And the reason why I wanted to do a commercial on sickle cell, because I was young when I had him.
Yes.
So of course they had little no information for sickle cell. So, and the little information, the medicine that they did have, unfortunately, it withdraw from his body. He cannot take it. So I watched him several years of his younger life suffering because he was allergic to penicillin. And at that time, that's all they had. And then kind of later down the line, I found out that he had the worst form of sickle cell.
Yes, ma'am.
Where it only have I want to say 10,000 people in the whole world that has it. It's called the SS form. And that's where your cells don't form well at all. Mm-hmm. So, as they said, the medicine keeping the cells to form. So I wanted to make a commercial because my son, he would watch me cry all the time. Mm-hmm. So he'd say, Mama, instead of you crying in front of me, just go in the closet, because if you cry, you make me weep. Mm-hmm. So I said, all right. So when I would break down, I'll go in the closet. So that's why I made it Lucid Closet for parents that can actually, relate, that have kids with sickle cell, can talk to me or other parents and, understand that I've been dealing with it. Well, he's 20 now. Thank God he made it to 20. But just to get a testimony and let them know that they're not by themselves.
Well, help me understand. You said that he's now 20, which means he's been dealing with this for a long time. What have been the improvements in treatment for sickle cell over that span of time?
I wouldn't say anything. They got another medicine that's called T.H.R.I.V.E, but to be honest with you, a lot of the medications now is not FDA approval.
Okay.
So even if there's something that can help them, it can harm them too, because if it's not FDA approval, it meaning that the medicine is not approved by the United States of America. Mm-hmm. So. And
if it's not approved, I imagine that insurance doesn't pay for it, which means you have to pay for it out of pocket?
You know what's so crazy? Insurance will pay for it.
Really?
But even if insurance pay for it and you get these side effects, whatever side effects are related, the hospital doesn't have to treat you. because it's not FDA approval. They want to know how to treat you, meaning that if he taking this hydroxyurea and something happened to his body, they're going to treat him for sickle cell. They don't have a treatment plan in line to treat him for having a side effect of the hydroxyurea.
Okay. That's interesting. And I don't quite understand how that works. But there's a lot I don't understand. What has been the quality of your son's life over this span? You say he's made it to 20 with this. Has
when
he
he
had
was
a good
5,
quality of life from
yes. Now, of course, he have his days where he just got ACLS back, and ACLS is like a bone disorder. So, but he's doing okay. I mean, the best he can do is just pray and keep going. Like, he understands now. He understands that, like, when he died at 5 and he came back, he died at 8 too, and he came back. So now he understands, like, what he have to do to stay alive. But he needed a hip replacement at 8, but we didn't give him a hip replacement, but it didn't came back.
Okay.
So.
So from your advocacy for sickle cell, you formed a group,
a nonprofit organization,
and the group is still going on. It's a nonprofit.
Yeah, it's still going on. It's just nowadays, you got your people that, don't really be want to talk about it. Because with social media and sometimes social media can be a good thing. Sometimes social media can be a bad thing because it's a lot of parents that. I'm not going to say that they're ashamed of their kids. It's just the condition is overwhelming, and then the kids are smaller than the other kids. And they have certain defects. So sometimes, you might catch a parent that rather not talk about it.
Okay. So based upon that beginning, at some point you decided that you wanted to do podcasts.
Yes.
How did that come about?
All right. So I did a commercial, Lucy Closet. And I was extra nervous. But when I did that commercial, shout out to Terrence and Qunita, they kind of made me feel like, okay, you can do this, So I went to a girl at a store. Me and her was talking, and we was just talking about different topics. And she told me, you know what, you should do podcasting. And I said, I don't know. So I went home, and I started to do the podcast with somebody, and my daddy actually funded like all the material.
Okay.
And I was excited, but unfortunately, while I was doing it, at me and the guy, we kind of was on 2 different levels to where he locked all my material in the in his office and he took it. So at that point, I had only did 1 podcast.
Okay.
So I had met a guy. Me and him had been talking for a while. And I was crying to him. I was like, man, right when I was getting in, he was like, well, podcasting is you, not all the stuff. And I'm like, but what I'm going to do? I don't have nothing. He said, well, you have your platform, and you got you, right? He said, you got an iPad? So I was like, I got an iPad. He was like, my mama have this room, and she had this beautiful sofa. So he was like, you could do it at my mama's house. I'm like, for real? So I started doing the podcast for a whole year and a half just off an iPad.
Okay. And I imagine you do it the way similar to what we're doing here, which is where it's both video and audio.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, it was being video. Like, it was more of a sit down. Like, just sit on the couch and have a conversation.
Okay.
So I started it with Facebook Live.
Okay.
Well, we only do Facebook Live, get on podcast, we go live on Facebook. And that's how I started the podcast. But now we didn't kind of upgrade it a little bit. So I've been getting like high profile people. So those high profile people, of course, we hire a cameraman and we do the podcast from there. But the original podcast is The Famous Sofa and Lucy Lou.
So if you were doing it live, this podcast is being recorded. And as I said before we started, if at any point we needed to stop, we could do that, and then it can be edited. Tell me what kind of level of anxiety there is with doing a live podcast.
All right, so I'm gonna be honest with you. When I first started, I was like nervous, But then like my fiance, he like the jump man, the hype man. So he was the cameraman too. So he's sitting in the back like, don't cry, don't show no emotions. You got this. Keep going. So they don't see what I see. So it's a lot. Like, even people that I do get on a podcast, they be like, we ain't know, like, it's a lot. Sometimes I have to, like, let the person talk instead of me because I have to get my thoughts together, depending on the topic. So, yeah, it got its nervousness. Sometimes I just sit there and I'll be like, okay, Lucy, redirect this question. So when they're talking to me, I'm actually just eating everything that they said. And I'll be like, all right, Lucy, you go ask this question, Lucy. And after that, you ask that question. Because it's live, so I don't want them to see me be like, So, yeah, I don't use a card or anything because it's just talk.
I understand. What tends to be the direction that you go with in your podcast? When I started this podcast, now we're in our 7th year. I started it as a way of having protracted conversations with people. As a pastor, I see people on Sunday morning, I shake their hands at the door, and they go on about their business, but we don't really have conversation. And so I started the podcast as a way of having conversations with people. It has since evolved into various avenues. There's a lot of politics that's talked about. There's a lot of community activism that's talked about. What tends to be the theme of your podcast?
Well, my podcast, I always say, like, you know how you go to Big Mama house and you done something and you sit on the couch and you feel so relieved? That's how I feel. When I was younger, I really didn't have nobody to talk to.
Okay.
So at the age of 4, I remember, like, getting it. My mama put me in a closet. Well, I don't know, but that was a thing, like, but at the age of 4, I remember, like, sitting there talking to myself. So when I do see somebody, I'll ask them questions because I never really had nobody to communicate with me, like nobody, because, I was the outside child. So nobody really talked to me. So when I did start, like, I always had a passion to hear other people's stories and sit there and listen to them. I never wanted to tell my story. And I said to myself, as long as I hear other people's story and they can get it out, I don't need it. So I don't need to tell my story. It makes me feel good to hear their story.
But don't you think that you have a story that's worth telling?
I do. And at this point, I'm happy that you did say that. I'm actually writing a book. And
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually writing a book. I just, I'm at a point now where I'm okay with telling my story. Like, mentally, I'm not really, I'm on and off with it. But like I said, that's what really started the podcast. I just hear other people's stories inspire me to tell my story whenever I'm ready. But I always thought about, I ain't got to tell my story. I hear their story. I never wanted to tell my story because I guess I never wanted to face, the reality of my story.
When you have these guests on and you give them the opportunity to tell their story, what is it that you derive from their story? What is it that you learn from this? I started this as a way of trying to learn from other people, and I've learned many things. It's amazing what you think you know, and then you come to find out that you don't really know. What is it that you have learned through the experience of podcasting?
Well, I have learned, like, different people, and I also learned that you're not by yourself. Like, even when you go through something, I have done podcasts from judges to the president of the NAACP to one of the best DJs out here, discrimination, I have done where they have lost their kids, So it really, like, sometimes it helps me emotionally to handle, like, what I go through on a daily basis, and how, certain people that they lost their kids, sometimes it helps me where I go home and hug my kids a little tighter or, learn, like, because us as parents, we so busy. So I learn now just hearing somebody that they lost their son or they lost their daughter. Like, sometimes Just don't fuss. It's okay to sit down. So those people really teach me about communication, love, mental health. So it's a lot of things that I learned from them.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned DJs, and you said one of the best DJs in Baton Rouge. I don't even need to know the name because I wouldn't know it if you told me. But I was curious because you were so adamant that it's one of the best DJs. What makes a good DJ?
Okay. Well, the reason why I say this is because he have inspired me not just through listening to music, going to the club, watching him play. He have pulled me to the side many a times and said, "Look, this not you." You know, I have watched him grow, and also he's even though he's a DJ, he's somebody outside of being a DJ.
Okay.
Like he like more of a uncle, or because I used to love going out. So when I'm out and a lot of people see you do certain things, they don't pay no mind. But he took that time to come down and say, "Hey, come here, what's going on?" You know, this or that. Or when he see me on the outside, he still give me this prep talk. So he the best DJ to me because.
But it has nothing to do with his musical skills. It has to do with his relationship with you.
He got good musical skills. Now he but just the outside of what he do besides the music.
Okay. You're a native of Baton Rouge.
No, I'm a native of St. Gabriel.
I'm sorry, you did say that. You're a native of St. Gabriel, but you live in Baton Rouge, and you've spent most of your life in Baton Rouge. What do you think about Baton Rouge?
In what perspective?
Politics, social activity, recreation, education, economy. Just give me a general understanding as someone who has lived most of her life in Baton Rouge, and apparently you've planted your flag to live here, at least in the near future.
Yes.
Tell me what you think about Baton Rouge.
I think Baton Rouge didn't let social media take over in everything.
Explain.
Meaning, I was just saying this the other day when they was going for the superintendent.
Right.
Why did it have to be Facebook Live? I remember back in the day, it wasn't no speech. It wasn't no social media. I think that now Baton Rouge is run by social media, by Instagram, Facebook, even politics. Because you know what? It's like with campaigning, I don't really have to do the groundwork if I have social media. So I don't think Baton Rouge does any more groundwork. I think Baton Rouge is run by social media, who got the most views, who got the most likes, not about what's best for Baton Rouge, who's popular.
Okay. You mentioned the school board. I'm a little bit older than you are. I'm 62. I can go back a little bit of a way. School board meetings used to be televised weekly on what was then called Cablevision. It's now Cox, and I don't know if Cox, because I don't subscribe to Cox anymore, but I don't know if they still televise council meetings or school board meetings. They did council meetings as well now as they once did. I don't know why it went Facebook Live. I imagine somebody decided it was a good idea in order to gain as large an audience as they possibly could. But I do think it's important that these meetings be televised so that people have the opportunity to know what's going on. Otherwise, the only way I know is to read the newspaper the next day, which I find a lot of people don't do. These days, a lot of people don't read the newspaper. They get their news through social media. And on that score, I agree with you because it's not substantiated. It's everyone's opinion. And the general rules of journalism go by the wayside. Yes. But if I can sit there and I can watch a meeting as it takes place, I think that's a good thing.
I'm going to say this, my opinion. Yes, it is a good thing, but also it's a bad thing too because we want, like I said, popular, okay? So if you're popular on social media, 9 times out of 10, you'll win with whatever you're doing. And that don't mean that you best at it. That don't mean that you have the good interest of it. That don't mean that you're going to pour your all in it. It's just that you're popular.
You're talking about the actual school board members.
I'm not.
Or are you talking about people who are viewing
in
it?
General.
Okay.
I'm just speaking in general.
But if they're televising a school board meeting or a city council meeting, and even if it runs without commentary or without narration, and you're just hearing the back and forth that takes place within the meeting, isn't that a good thing?
Yeah.
It's like I'm there, even though I'm not there. And not everybody can take the time to go to a school board meeting, which I advise everyone who has any interest in their children to do from time to time. You need to go to a school board meeting and actually see what takes place in a school board meeting. But the next best thing would be that it's televised and you can watch it as it happens.
I'm gonna say this. I think that, even if they do, like you said, it's televised, guess what? They don't ain't gonna watch it on TV. They're gonna watch it on their phone, and they're not gonna watch a school board meeting to get informed or get informative information.
Okay.
They're watching it to see who gonna win, why they won. That's what I'm saying. Like, you asked me about in general, how do you feel about Baton Rouge?
Right.
It's more about popularity in Baton Rouge than anything. It's not about like what they can pour out to Baton Rouge. It's about who they are, how popular they are, because that's the people that everybody's gonna run to. You can have a person here that will give you the shirt off their back, right? But they only got a certain amount, a certain popularity on social media, or a certain popularity. But you got this person, right? That looks good for social media, that have all these people that have high platforms on social media, right? That send people out to do her job or whoever job and really don't want to do it, and guess who they're going to run to? No.
That person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's visual. It's showing that, hey, she's doing all of this and all of that because she's popular. But this person will give you the shirt. They actually are best for the job, but they're not popular at all.
Talk to me about education in Baton Rouge. I want to stay with Baton Rouge a little bit longer. What's your feeling about public education in Baton Rouge?
It's hard.
Okay. Go a little bit deeper if you don't.
I'm going to say this. I have experience last year. My daughter, she's 11.
Okay.
And she goes to this certain school. And she had called me. And she said, Mama, what does I look like I'm fast mean? And I said, Maya, because my daughter on the thicker side, I said, what you mean? I said, well, tell me exactly what was discussed while the teachers was in the hallway. Oh, they say I look like I'm fast, like ain't no way I'm 10. She was 10 at the time. And to my understanding, I said, wow, they sitting around, like, I can't blame them because they only 11 years older than her. So we don't have the old school teachers no more. So I said, all right, Maya, I'm on my way up to the school. So when I get to the school, I'm looking, they 23, 24, 21. So I'm like, okay, so this who's teaching our kids? And when I get in the room, she was on the phone.
The teacher?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm standing at the door. Miss Jackson. She was like, oh, hey, come on. I said, I was standing there for 5 minutes. So what I'm going to say is, nowadays, you can get a teacher's degree online. That speaks values to me. Back in the day, our teachers, they had to go to school. They had to learn the computer. It's computer in now. Our teachers had a grade book. Each name, go down the grade book, they checking it. Nowadays, all you got to do is put it through a scanner. Or they give them these laptops or whatever to come home with. We got taught the old school way. I write on the board, if you don't understand, tell me you don't understand it. Now, you have to go to a teacher duo and let them know, hey, my daughter didn't finish such and such assignment and she didn't understand this. You think she's going to understand from a computer better than she understands from hands-on? So that's the problem. It's computerized instead of hands-on now.
School is about to get started again. Public school is about to get started again as we're recording this in just a few days, August 8th. And there have been a lot of changes that have taken place in the law from the state legislature regarding education. One of those things has to do with the allocation of funds. It is now acceptable practice from the state's standpoint to take public school dollars and give them to parents to be distributed to private and parochial schools.
Yeah.
Do you have an opinion about that? I do. I think it's wrong. I think it's bad. So I'm just letting you know what my opinion is. I'm curious as to what yours is. Because
okay.
my kids are no longer in public school.
Right.
But I'm just curious as to your feelings about that.
Well, I feel like you know what? Because it's a lot of, I would say it's kind of wrong. Because it's a lot of children that go through poverty go to public schools. I don't think that they should take the funding away because we already got like a lot of schools that's D and F.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if you take this funding away, many more schools gonna go from a C to a D to a F.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, I don't think that even matters.
What do you mean it doesn't matter?
I just think the dollar amount matter. I don't think the schools matter. I don't think the kids matter.
You mean to the legislature?
Yeah.
To the governor?
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to be clear because...
Yeah. I don't think that,
they're not putting the needs of the kids
No.
at the forefront of what they were doing.
They're not.
Okay.
How do you feel about that?
No, I totally agree. That's why I started with the fact that, for me, taking dollars away from public schools that are already struggling and giving them to well-to-do white people, which is what they're really doing, giving the money to well-to-do white people so that they can supplement private and parochial schools is wrong. To me, it's a theft. As big as somebody walking into a convenience store and taking money out of the cash drawer. It is
Right.
as much a theft as that would be. But it is the law of the land in that you are a parent with school-age children. I was just curious as to how you feel about that. Other changes that have taken place in education. It's now a requirement that the 10 Commandments be posted in every classroom from kindergarten all the way up to state college level. Okay. LSU, Southern, Lafayette, they all are supposed to post the 10 Commandments in every classroom. I'm a pastor of a church. I'm a pastor of a Black Baptist church. I got problems with that because this nation was not built on Christianity. This nation was built on religious freedom. Right. And as a citizen of this country, you are free to worship any God you choose or to worship no God at all. Yeah. So I have a problem with the governor and the Secretary of Education saying that these commandments must be in classrooms. Tell me your thoughts.
I mean, I don't.
It's okay to say you disagree. I'm just curious.
I don't agree and I don't disagree. I mean, I don't feel like it's needed. I don't feel like it's needed. Just like I don't feel like the pledge is needed. I don't feel like it was a big deal for us to stand up and say the pledge. Mm-hmm. I actually got wrote up because I didn't stand up to say the pledge. And I feel like that was wrong. But that was back when Lehigh, we was the rebels and we was fighting for our names. So, I mean, just like I don't feel like that we need the 10 Commandments in the school. We don't even need the pledge. To me, I mean, I don't uphold that. I don't feel like being an individual that everybody have to stand up. Mm-hmm. I feel like we should have a choice if we want to pledge. But
let me expand away from Baton Rouge and ask you about Louisiana in general. You have school-age children, and I know you have a son that's 20 years old. How would you feel if your children decided that they did not want to live in Louisiana? Would that be okay with you?
Yeah.
I know it's their choice, but as a parent, you have an opinion about that.
It would be good. I really don't want them to be in Louisiana. I really, especially my daughter. I want her to explore as much as she can. Well, my daughter wants to live in Japan when she graduates.
Okay.
She wants to Japan. So I would say I would want them to leave Louisiana because, we don't really have too much out here to offer. It's getting better, but it don't mean that we still not at worst.
Are you a church girl? I've heard you mention prayer a couple of times in this interview.
My father is a minister.
Okay.
Yeah.
My father's a minister too. My grandfather was a minister also.
Yeah, so-
But I got a brother who don't want to have nothing to do with anybody's church. So I'm just curious. What's your attitude about church and about God and about faith?
Okay, so I'm gonna tell you, I have grown up alone. I have went a long ways because when I was younger, I didn't even believe in it because I got treated so bad. Things kept happening. I was like, ain't no way. I don't know who they talking about because if that's so, I wouldn't have to fight for myself. I felt like I kept defending. So I want to say, when I was 15 years old, I talked to my dad. My dad sat me down, and he had changed his life at that point. And he was like, I understand how you feel. And I'm like, Dad, I'm tired. Like, I'm drained. And he was like, well, that's all you tell God. And I'm like, I don't have time to keep, like, what was he at when I was going through all this? And I'm just being real because I was very nervous to come talk to you because I never talk about this. So I was like, Daddy, he was nowhere around, And my daddy was like, yeah, he was around because you still here. I was like, yeah, but I fought to be here. And my dad was like, oh, you didn't get here by yourself. So there's plenty of times I was like, nah. Then I met my cousins. Of course, they used to go here. So that's when I used to come, Carla and Charlotte.
Okay.
So I used to come, and come to the lock-ins when they had the lock-ins. And still then, I didn't feel no movement or anything. I just was coming, like, let me go to church. Let me go to church. I didn't feel a movement until I was 27, until something happened to me. I always say, even though I didn't know that God was up, I always say, God, let me make it through this. If I make it through this, you got me. So I went somewhere that I wasn't supposed to go, and somebody put something in my drink.
Okay.
And I drank it, and all kind of stuff happened at night. And I ended up in an abandoned place with a trench coat on. And I woke up, and I was barely walking. I went to the hospital, and I was like, man, that wasn't, even though I was crying and shaking, at that point, the only person I can call on is God because I'm all the way in Florida. I'm not out here. So don't nobody know. And at that point, I was like, God had to, man, thank you. Like, I just kept saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. That's when I felt the movement. But other than that, I didn't feel anything. Just being honest.
Help me. I said part of this process is learning for me. Help me to understand what it is that you think the church, the organized church, can do to help reach those people who are struggling or opposed to organized religion.
Just be
because it's a growing number of people.
I feel like
in that
a
number.
lot of, and I'm gonna say this, a lot of people that's in church, they forget about their past, and I'm gonna say it because I had a lot of people that came talk to me, but they didn't talk to me on who they was or who they are. They can't talk to me as, I'm in church. You need to be in church. This is what you need to do. Instead of just having a conversation like, hey, trust me, I have not always been like this, but this is how God helped me out. They don't try to relate. They try to actually preach and tell you this and that. And when we're going through trials and tribulations, we want you to preach, but we also want to relate. We don't want to just sit there and we're looking at you and be like, oh, well, she got it together. I'm not going to talk to her. So if we can't relate to you, we don't want to talk to you. And a lot of people that's in church, they don't know. I always call it a mask. Not saying that they wear a mask at church, but they don't know how to say, you know what, off the record, this was me, this is what happened. They don't know how to do that because of where they're at now.
You've been doing your podcast now for 3 years?
Almost
3 years. Tell me what you see, what you envision as coming out of the podcast. Do you plan on doing it longer? Or do you plan on using this as a platform to go into other things?
Okay, well, yes, I am planning on doing the podcast longer because it's a lot of people that I have actually sat down and talked to that had conversations with me that they was going to take to their grave. So I'm not going to stop that line of communication.
Okay.
But me and my fiance, we're moving into this book, and we also have a clothing brand, and it all connects. The Stallions brand. And when you think of Stallion, a lot of people think like, you know, she fine, she this, she that. But the Stallions brand is actually a brand that me and him, well, he came up with the symbol, and we both came up with the slogan. You are a stallion. It's no look, color, or size. It's in you, not on you. It starts with confidence. So, of course, I'm going to keep the podcast, to keep all that going on. But hopefully, I move to different states because I would like to hear. It's still many stories that I want to hear. So I would like to go to different states and, hopefully one day be the next Oprah.
Nothing wrong with that. So this clothing line, is it men, women, unisex?
It's all women. It's for women,
Okay.
and it's actually a clothing line that it defines, confidence in women because, I said back in the day, my grandmother was beautiful, and my grandmother collar all the way to the knees dress, and like now with social media, a lot of women. They see other women, and also young girls too. And that's the thing that I do want to attack because I have an 11-year-old. So I want to attack young girls too. That it's confidence. It's not your outer, it's your inner. So that's what basically the Stallion brand is for. Is to like let everybody, no color, no race, no size. We all beautiful. You don't have to go out wearing a certain something for a person to see that you're beautiful. You just be you. Be confident in you.
You said that you want to carry your podcast to different parts of the country. Is there a particular part of the country that you would like to visit first?
Yes, Africa.
Okay. Have you ever had the opportunity to go to Africa?
No.
Okay.
Wait, hold up. Jamaica first. Yeah, because I'm going, like, my grandfather was from Jamaica, so I'm dying to, like, I know how to do the dance, I know about the food, but I'm dying to meet somebody, that he knew. But I do want to go to Jamaica, but I do want to go to Africa for sure.
And you'll come back, or
of course I'm gonna come back. I don't want to stay there, but I do want to.
Well, I asked that question because there are a lot of people who want to leave Louisiana. I asked you about your children. I see a brain drain in Louisiana. People come here to go to school, LSU, Southern, BRCC, but as soon as they can get away from here, they're gone. And a lot of the people that I came along with are in Houston, in Dallas, in Nashville, in Atlanta. And they have no intentions of coming back. And so I was just curious, do you have any, visiting is fine, do you have any intention to come back?
Like from different countries, yes, but hopefully I can have talking with Lucy Lou in like 4 or 5 different states.
Okay.
So that way that, I can be here and then I can go there and I can go there and I can go there, I can go there. But yeah, I want it to expand to different states.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time to come and share with us today. Tell me where I can find your podcast. Is there a particular platform that you're on?
We have on Facebook. It's on Talking with Lucy Lou on Facebook.
Okay.
And also, we just started the YouTube channel, and it's Talking with Lucy Lou.
So you're on YouTube and Facebook. Okay. Well, I will look forward to it, and hopefully we can have you back very soon.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking the time to come and share with us.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for viewing. We'll be back again next time.